This is the 7th year of the Florida Interscholastic Cycling League. Middle schoolers and high schoolers from all over the state get to compete in 5 races. And this is the first race of the season, and things got off to a hot start. This will be my last season ever in NICA as a senior, and it will undoubtedly be the toughest season yet. This course is one lap that is 8.45 miles long with 105 feet of climbing. The course starts and ends with green rated trails, and it has a section of blue rated trails in the middle. This race is a time trial, so there is a 10-second gap between each rider, and since I raced in the varsity category, I had 12 competitors. Middle schoolers ride a shorter lap that doesn't include all of the blues.
3, 2, 1, go, 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 go!
Alright, here we go straight into the action. There is a short open area here with a pretty bad headwind, or at least it sure felt like one. Now, it was a very cold weekend. My Garmin said it was 43 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold in Florida. And for you northern folk, I don't want to hear,
"Oh, 40 degrees isn't actually that cold."
I don't want to hear it, alright? The summer here is basically the same as being on Mercury. So, we're not used to the cold. So now we are in the single track. This trail is called Caloosahatchee Ridge. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it is a green. And this trail is pretty straightforward, being quite literally mostly a straight line, with just a few turns here and there. This is definitely going to be the fastest part of the course. There are a few climbs here and there, but overall nothing too crazy. Now, I don't have the live positioning because this is a time trial and it is impossible to know what position I am in during the race. Now, this whole race I was trying to catch up to the rider in front of me, which is probably what everyone else was trying to do, so obviously I was pushing pretty hard. I think the cold affected my heart rate a decent amount because I'm pushing well over my threshold power, but my heart rate is only in the mid to high 160s. Now, I do have a lower max heart rate than other competitors, So this isn't a crazy low number, but it is about 10 beats per minute lower than what I normally would be doing at this pace. Now I am in a blue rated trail named Tractor Lane, which is a pretty suiting name because I felt like a tractor here. My whole body was already screaming at me saying, "Why in the world would you do this?" My answer was, "Shut up legs and do your job, otherwise you're not getting any cookies." That's a lie, I'm still gonna get some cookies afterward. Anyway, this trail is where the course starts to get twisty with lots of flat turns. It is absolutely crucial that you control your speed. This is where being familiar with the course would help a lot to maximize every corner. Now, I only did one pre-ride lap because I'm in the
Student Leadership Council,
and I had a meeting that prevented me from doing another lap. For a brief moment, you can actually see the rider in front, so I was slowly getting closer. But I have to be patient, otherwise I will crash and that will not be good. So this section starts to get very rooty and rocky. You really have to make sure that you pick your line carefully because it is very easy to get a flat tire here or even just a pedal strike. Now we enter the trail called Lollipop, which is a blue trail. Now this trail is very similar to Tractor Lane with a lot of sharp flat turns. Here is where this trail gets tight with some very sharp turns. I was able to catch glimpses of the rider in front of me here a few times, so I knew I was still close, but I was starting to run out of time, so I needed to catch him as soon as possible. Alright, so I am a little over halfway through the race now, and I still haven't caught up to the rider in front of me. I haven't slowed down, as you can see, with my heart rate still in the mid to high 160s, but it seemed as if the rider in front of me was starting to pull away a little. I still saw them at one point, but I definitely had lost some ground. But I needed to be patient because freaking out and pushing out of my comfort zone will only make things worse. This trail is called Technoville, and it is a blue. It is a short section of trail before we get onto the rest of 3 bridges, which is also a blue. Now we are officially back on 3 bridges, and my legs were getting more and more mad at me, but that's what they're paid to do. My normalized power for this race was 276 watts, which is a little lower than I was hoping for, especially since I had recently done the FLE short track race at Caloosahatchee Park, and that time I had a normalized power of 300 watts for 27 minutes. I wasn't slacking today, I promise. I almost decked it here, but I managed to hold it together. I lost traction with my front tire for a moment. Now this is 100% the tire's fault and not my fault at all. And I definitely don't need to fix my form, the tire just needs to do its job better. But anyway, that is the end of 3 bridges. Now I'm on a green rated trail named Panther Pass. This trail was relatively straight, so I just had to focus on pushing hard. Now I enter a green trail named Lightbulb, and this was a very twisty trail. Here I was really starting to feel the fatigue in my legs, and I felt like I was getting a little lazy on my form here. There were a few turns that I definitely could have taken better. There were a lot of sharp turns here, and the trail was a little bumpy, which can make these turns a little more spicy. There's also a few sneaky inside lines here which were illegal in this NICA race, so you can take advantage of those. Some of these turns were also pretty sandy, especially on the outside of the trail, so if you take a turn wide, it can definitely slow you down quite a lot. So I opted to go around this hill here, which is also legal. We had asked a race official beforehand and he told us that it was legal. Now, I didn't go around every one of these. I think it is still faster to go over some of them. So now we are entering this wooded section that was very flowy. There are a few turns, but it is pretty straight. Now I am entering the last trail in this race course named Sunburn Meadow. This is a green trail that is very open, so there was a lot of wind on this trail, which was very annoying. And here I was able to see that the gap to the rider in front of me had grown, and that he had also caught up to the rider in front of him. So now they were together. I'm in the last 3 minutes of the race, so it was time to give it my all. But I also need to be careful because these turns on this trail were very loose, and the last thing I wanted was to go down right at the end. And that is it for the first round, the prologue race of the FICL 2026 season. I ended up getting 5th place with a time of 29 minutes and 51 seconds and an average speed of 16.7 miles per hour. This was a super close race with the top 5 being separated by only 20 seconds and myself just being 2 seconds behind 4th place. I had a ton of fun in this race and I can't wait for the next rounds, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on those episodes. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one.